This conference will now be recorded.
So, yes, my submission here is that all of us have a personal brand. Whether we like it or not, it's already there. It is based on whatever we have done in all these years in terms of either the expertise that we have showcased, the behaviors that we have showcased, the initiatives we have taken, or whatever. But each of us already has a personal brand. And that's where we want to start today's conversation. So, for those of you who don't know what their personal brand is or who are completely unaware, we'll figure out, as we go through today's session in terms of how I get to know what is my personal brand that I carry. And a quick way to do it, of course, is to ask your friends and colleagues and family, and they will tell you, I think this is what the perception that you have created. But given that you already have a personal brand and you are a brand, how is it that you're going to enhance it or kind of, tweak it to the kind of perception that you want everyone to carry about yourselves is what we will talk about in today's session. So the first and foremost thing that I would like you all to think about is understand how you are perceived and what is the credibility that you have built because of which there is that perception about you. So we will start with talking about in the organizations that you are working in. What is the personal brand that you are conveying at work? What is the value proposition that you have built because of which there is the perception, there is the credibility and the brand that you carry? So I want to give an example or rather narrate a story from my own, corporate career. I was working at this organization, and let me name it. I was at ANZ, and we had a new MD who joined us. And as always, whenever we have new leaders who come and join the organization, you have smaller group meetings so that the leader gets to know you and you kind of get to know the leader. I was much junior then, probably mid management, just stepping into a senior management role. So I was part of this group that met him, which was all women leaders. The organization believed that these were the women who had the potential to grow into senior leadership roles, and they had kind of scheduled a meeting for us to meet the new MD. So I just went about introducing myself with my name and the title and the role that I was doing. And I'm talking about many years ago when I was probably not this savvy in terms of, the way you carry yourself, introduce yourself. So I did a very plainish, introduction. And that was about it. And then the rest of the meeting went by. A couple of months after that, I saw an email from the MD. It was addressed to, the head of the bank in PNG, Papua New Guinea, one of the Pacific Islands. So ANZ has a presence across the globe, right? And I went down the email chain and I saw that the first email was from this guy who was working at the PNG bank. And ANZ at that point in time was trying to run a competition of sorts, like we have the India's Got Talent show. We were trying to do some ANZ's Got Talent kind of a show. And all of us who wanted to participate in that had to make a submission of our work, our talent. So be it music, art, dance, whatever it be. On a portal, on an online portal, we had to submit either, a video or audio or whatever. And this guy had written in the email that he was not able to submit it. And we were just one day away from the deadline for the submission. And of course, so it was a panic email written to the head of the, ANZ Bank in PNG. And that person had, sent it to the MD at Bangalore because Bangalore is the IT hub. So, there was apparently an IT issue because of which this guy was not able to submit. And the MD had written to, the head of the ANZ Bank at PNG saying, if anyone can sort this out for you, it is Neeraja Ganesh, and had copied me. And I thought to myself, oh my God, I mean, how, how in the world am I going to sort out an issue like this? And what was I doing at ANZ? I was actually heading the retail IT for, Asia Pacific. So that was the only common factor that I had between, this particular situation that, I was heading the retail IT for Pacific and this person was in Pacific who was having the issue. But my job was retail. My job was not internet, was not, the talent show or anything of that sort. But well, the MD had written that if anyone can do this, it is Neeraja. So I went about, figuring out what to do. I found out the person who was probably responsible for this online portal. And long story short, the next day, This guy was able to make his submission online, and life went on. I have not ever gathered courage to go and ask the MD why he wrote that email, but if I reflect upon it, I can think of it in two ways. One is the fact that when I got introduced to him in that meeting where other women leaders were there, he remembered that I was heading Asia Pacific. Of course, the retail part, but he may or may not have remembered that. The second thing I think is the personal brand that I carried, which was that Neerja will get anything done. That's a brand that I have always carried throughout my work and continue to, right? So you want anything done, you reach Neerja Ganesh, you approach her, she will figure a way out to get things done. So that was a brand. She can get things done. That's a USP. So reflect upon what is the personal brand that you are conveying at work. And it is absolutely important for each of us to have a brand that you want people to remember you as. Now, you may ask me whether this was a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, I got dumped with work, which I may or may not have been wanting to do, but I look at it like this, right? It was an opportunity. I was remembered by the MD. I managed to get it done, whether it was stressful or not. And I scored a few brownie points with the MD and, of course, got connected to the head of the ANZ Bank at PNG. And that goes a long way in your career. So first and foremost, please reflect on the personal brand that you're conveying at work. And then for the rest of today's discussion, I will be making it very generic to talk about personal branding in a general sense, not necessarily only within an organization, but even outside the organization. But everything that I speak about can be implemented within or outside. So let's look at what is personal branding, right? A brand is nothing without a story. So I narrated a story just now saying that, this is my brand or this was my brand. So what is your story and how does it support your growth? This is what your personal brand is about. It is about how you promote yourself. It is the unique combination of your skills, your experience, your personality that you want the world to see you as. And it is the telling of your story and how it reflects your conduct, your behavior, spoken and unspoken words, and also your attitude. Okay, so let's look at some examples. Let's look at what is the brand that these people carry. And I would like people to respond on the chat box. What is the brand that this person whose image you're seeing carries? Anybody? Simple, humility, okay. Intellectual and dignified leader, okay. Inspiration, science and technology scientist. So we haven't heard of the term president yet, but the fact is, yes, the brand that he carries, while all those characteristics that you did mention, of course, but the brand is of he's associated with the Indian space, the scientist, and that's the brand that he carries. Now let's look at another person. What's the brand that he carries? Let's hear it for Mr. B. Actor, okay. Entertainer, okay. Versatile actor, charity, humble actor with great voice, okay. Of course, he's an actor, but is there any other brand that he carries? Writer, orator, singer, versatile. Okay, so let me go ahead. So I'm saying, yes, he's an actor, but one of the brands that he carries is the Kaun Banega Crorepati brand, right? Ageless brand icon, okay. But if you kind of talk about Kaun Banega Crorepati, I think you will remember me. The only other person who tried to do a season, I think, was Shah Rukh Khan, but then the fact is that it came back to Mr. B. Bachchan, and hence that's the brand. Of course, there will be many brands, right? I mean, he is an actor and he's a versatile actor and he could be a singer. But I'm saying that one thing that probably will, kind of uh, be reinforced time and again. So let's look at one more before we go ahead. What's the brand that she carries? Cannot see the slide changing. Anu, say it. Is everyone able to see my slide and the pictures that are coming up? Yes, okay. So I will go with it. Lakshmi, you're not able to see? Oh, Indra Nooyi, Women Empowerment, Pepsi,
Indra,
Power Woman. Okay, Power Woman is one of the brands that she carries. Okay, anybody else? Pepsi is the company, but what is the brand that she carries? Unique women leader, okay. Role model for women, okay. Anything else? Lady power, okay. Women entrepreneur, okay. Author, empowering. So let me go ahead. So she is a ex-CEO of PepsiCo, but the brand of an Indian woman who's come from a middle class family to rise as a global leader. You know, that kind of stands out. Like, we have many women leaders, we may have many Indian women leaders, but you know, there are a few characteristics for someone who's come from a middle class family, risen as a global leader. So that's the brand that she carries. Of course, we can interpret it very differently. Each of us obviously has been left with a particular brand image of the people over there. But I'm saying this is what is a brand. This is the personal brand that we are going to talk about for you and I today. And one thing, okay, let me give a definition of personal branding before coming to that aspect that I wanted to speak about. So, if you Google, you go to Wikipedia, you define personal branding, this is what will usually come up, right? It's a widely recognized and largely uniform perception or impression of an individual. And I really want to emphasize on largely uniform perception, okay, of an individual based on their experience, expertise, competencies, actions, achievements within a community, within an industry, or the marketplace at large. So that's like a regular definition. There's another definition that I really loved, a little longish, but it kind of, hits upon it very well. And I'll read it out for you. This is by Saurabh Ugoveta, who's the founder, CEO, and chief brand strategist of this organization called as Brands of Desire. He says, there are many areas where a person might excel, but the struggle remains to take the call and choose one. This is because being a jack of all trades is the biggest downside for someone building a personal brand. When a person does set his or her mind to develop his or her brand around a specific domain, it should be something that comes naturally to the person. There's absolutely no beating around the bush, which means that it has to be for sure a very genuine effort, a very genuine brand. You cannot manipulate to say, okay, fine, I'll put on an expression, I'll put on, knowledge or something like that, and let my brand be seen as that. So you really need to be reflecting on what is that core competency, what is that expertise that I wish to be known for, and hence go about building a, not building, I mean, you already have a brand, but kind of, ensuring that you enhance your brand around that. Before going on to how and why and when and all of that, I want to take a few minutes to talk about the difference between characteristics and brand. So when we started, quizzing on the brand, of Indra Nooyi, or what's the brand that Amitabh Bachchan carries, there were a few characteristics, right, that came up. Simple, humility and all of that. That's not brand. So let's not get, confused. So characteristics are the core values and fundamentals that showcase the true essence of the brand. So the simplicity of, Abdul Kalam, the humility of, Indra Nooyi or whoever, those are the characteristics. But the brand is above that. So, a brand consists of characteristics, but characteristics, don't become the brand. So let's be very, very clear, right? So brand experience. So whenever you go and you kind of buy a particular brand saying that I'm going to, buy a Nike shoe or whatever. It's the brand experience, which is nothing but the quality of that brand, or the characteristic of the brand. And some examples. And I don't want to kind of debate. Each of us has our own experiences and our own preferences, but I'm just kind of saying that, maybe Amazon has a characteristic of being sincere. At least for me, in these days when I was not able to get any of my groceries from anywhere, I actually ordered dal and rice and even toothpaste from Amazon. And my cousin, who I used to always say, "Oh, you're such a retail online shopper," he was making fun of me that you've gone on to Amazon for toothpaste. So it worked for me, and I say, okay, fine, they are sincere in what they kind of proclaim. Nike, maybe there's a sense of excitement that comes with this brand, with the shoes that they have or the apparel that they have. Let's go jogging or let's do something adventurous. Competence is something that you can associate with Google, right? While there is an association of sophistication with Apple. So Apple being a brand, what is the characteristic? It kind of comes across in the sophisticated category, whatever, products they have. Or if you look at, Toyota Land Cruiser or any SUV for that example, ruggedness is a characteristic that comes across. So remember that brands will have characteristics, but when you are talking about a brand, do not spell out the characteristics. That is a subset of the brand. So keep that very clearly, and your characteristics will eventually go on to define the brand that you want to kind of be perceived as. I'm sure this is a little confusing always, and we will take questions if there are any towards the end on this point. If I start now, then we will be only on this slide, and hence I want to reserve it for later. So now we come to why personal branding. It helps you stand out from everybody else, goes without saying, okay, and it makes you memorable. So this is, a statement that I got from Deeksha Ahuja. I got it on LinkedIn. She's an edtech entrepreneur. She's a startup consultant. She calls herself a serial networker, and she's a diversity enabler. And she says, I think personal branding is key to long-term success of any professional. So be it a student, be it, someone trying to get into an entry-level job, trying to move in between jobs within the organization, you want to look at challenging assignments, promotions, opportunities, entrepreneur, freelancer, doesn't matter. It is definitely needed for anyone in this world. It is the easiest way to portray who you are and the values you stand for. Do remember values you stand for. And that has a positive impact on the venture you run and helps you establish that much needed credibility. So I felt, that was a brilliant, explanation for why someone needs to have a personal brand. And that particular image over there kind of tells you that 33% of buyers trust messages from a brand, but 90% of buyers trust messages from individuals they know, right? So that's because you kind of trust and believe someone because of the branding that this person has. Okay, this person is, not going to recommend something which is not right. So the minute you have a brand which is seen as, really reliable, then what you say is something that people are going to definitely listen to, and then maybe at some point in time implement also. And hence the personal branding is absolutely, absolutely key. Now, how does one go about creating a personal brand? It needs extensive self-reflection and introspection. So I started out by saying that all of us already carry a personal brand, whether we went about, in a manner that we reflected, and then we have made it very obvious for others, or we've not even bothered about it, but there is one, right? But having said that, and being in this session today, and if you wish to kind of reflect and decide that this is how I want to be perceived, this is a brand that I want to kind of showcase for myself, it needs a lot of self reflection and introspection, because, as I said, there is only one aspect that should come out. While you may have multiple aspects and want to be known for multiple aspects, and you are an SME in multiple, there's probably one or two which are kind of related, which is what your personal brand should kind of, signify. So it needs a lot of self-reflection, and whatever it is, you should not come across as a salesperson, when you are trying to, talk about your brand. Be consistent with the personal brand. Okay, and I will give an example on this later. But what it means when I say consistent with the personal branding, stay true to whatever brand you are. Of course, you have to create a personal brand presence both offline as well as online, and you need to give it time. It's an investment, so it's not going to happen overnight. So let me go back to that particular second point. Be consistent with the personal branding, right? Stay true to your brand. So, in my last, when I was in Capgemini, my last job before I quit the corporate world and went on to do the things that I am doing, is when I realized that I really want to help women and kind of grow in their careers, especially women on a career break. And that's when I associated myself with this online portal called as Jobs for Her, because they were a portal trying to help women on a career break. So they were looking out for ambassadors. Ambassadors are people who will talk about, jobs for her, the work they do, to other women who are on a career break, so that they come and utilize the services of jobs for her and try and get their jobs. So I said, why not? This is something that I'm passionate about, so let me become an ambassador. And all we needed to do was kind of spread the word around, either through WhatsApp or through, of course, today we have social media, or, whenever you meet someone and you speak about this. So that is the ambassadorship, right? And I did a lot of that, and I did it very genuinely. I didn't do it because, they asked me to become an ambassador. I did it because I really wanted to help women on a career break restart their careers, and I really saw a lot of value that Jobs for Her, was providing in terms of what they had on their portal, the services they were offering. So I would, send messages in terms of, hey, there is this opportunity, or there is this meetup happening, or there is this mentoring happening, in my WhatsApp groups. And I had a friend who was starting off, something of her own, a venture of her own. And she came to me and said, Nita, why can't you do a similar thing for, my product, something that I'm starting new? And I refused that. The reason being, one, of course, I was not doing any of this for money, but even if I were to do this for money to say, okay, I'll probably become a paid ambassador of something, I would pick up something which is very close to my heart, I'm passionate about, and hence I will do it. But the second thing is, it doesn't take too much of my time in sending out another message. When I'm sending a message about jobs for her, I could have sent a message about her product and her organization also. But what would happen to the audience? They would get confused, right? And what would happen to my personal brand? It would become like, okay, she will talk about anything and anything, to everybody. So that is why the consistency with the branding has to be there. If you've decided that my brand has to be around helping women with their careers, then you do things which are consistent with that. So stay true to your brand. Okay, so let me move on to say, how do we go about offline branding? First and foremost is every interaction is a branding opportunity. So right now we are interacting. Let me go and see. We are 84 people in today's session, right? And this is an opportunity for the 84 of us to leave our brand behind, brand presence felt. How we can figure it out, we will figure it out. But I'm saying even this is an opportunity for us. It's a branding opportunity. You're talking to somebody on the phone, may not be relevant to your profession, but it is a branding opportunity. You have gone to a meeting, a social gathering, but it is a branding opportunity. So any and every interaction that you have with someone is a branding opportunity for you. Most important, start being a brand. When I say that, show your expertise. So whenever you have an opportunity, start showing your expertise in that area around which you want to build your brand, or around which you want you to be known as. Okay, and let people find out about your brand related successes in those interactions. So I will again probably give you, an example of, how one goes about doing this from, in terms of what I have done, maybe one example. But these are a few things that you need to do for offline branding. And lastly, make yourselves easy to contact. So why is this? Of course, we go with business cards whenever we are in a professional environment, in a professional networking environment, or a conference, or whatever. Or within an organization, you'll say, okay, fine, I'm part of this team, so you can always find me. This is my email ID, or this is my phone number. But the reason to make yourselves easy to contact is, for example, if somebody were to come to me in a particular event and talk about, say, a topic like blockchain, okay, saying that, he's the expert on blockchain, and, he does sessions or something like that, that's his interest. And I may not be really, bothered about blockchain during that conversation. And a year later, probably someone approaches me and says that, you know what, I want someone to come and take a class on blockchain for the students of this college. And I want someone who can really go to ground zero, make it really layman terms. And I will remember this gentleman or this lady who spoke to me about blockchain, and I being, somebody who has no clue about what this is, was able to understand it very easily. Now, how do I get in touch with this person? I don't even know where this person is, right? And that is why you must leave a way that the person can contact you. So you already showcased your brand. You've already showcased your expertise. You've already let people find out about your brand related successes. End of it, say, hey, let's connect on LinkedIn, or here's my card, or let's exchange numbers, or this is my email ID, or this is my website, whatever. But make yourselves easy to contact, because you never know when that opportunity will come. Because at the end of the day, branding is all about getting opportunities for yourselves, for your growth. Now I talk about creating opportunities to showcase your brand. So I said that every interaction is an opportunity. So you ended up somewhere, ensure that you kind of make use of that opportunity. Now how do you create opportunities to showcase your brand? There are a few things. One is, of course, you must participate in events and activities, be it within your organization or outside your organization. Both are needed, right? And I specify where you will be introduced, which means that do something, whatever that be, in that particular event or in that activity, so that you're not just one among 100 people, but they will say, Nirja is going to be, our timekeeper for this, or, is going to take minutes for this, or something. So your name gets, kind of, so people will know, okay, they look at you. And you are not, one among 100, but you are a somebody. And you start from there. Be part of seminars, be part of workshops, be part of mentoring opportunities, both ways. You can be a recipient of any of this. As I said, we all being part of this webinar, this is an opportunity for us to showcase our brand. But if you have an, opportunity to deliver a top session via a seminar, a workshop, or you can be the mentor for a mentoring, round table, go for it. Again, this is how people will introduce you, the name sticks, and then you can showcase your brand. So when the introduction happens, you ensure that there is a couple of statements which is aligned to the brand that you want to you want yourself to be represented for. Definitely be present at networking events. Organize networking events. That's even better, because then people definitely will get to know about you. And then you can organize events around the particular brand, perception that you want people to have about you. The simplest is you can volunteer, correct? So you're saying, okay, how will I get invited to speak at a workshop, or I have to pay and show up for a seminar, all of that. I think the simplest and easiest thing that we all can do is put up our hands and I'll volunteer. So within your organization, you can say I'll volunteer for this, and suddenly you kind of become visible. That is the starting point of showcasing your brand. Or externally, there are n number of things that are happening, events, or causes that are there for which you can volunteer. I want to now, talk about how I created an opportunity for myself to showcase my brand. So in November 2019, BCIC Women's Leadership Committee invited Apurva Purohit, who's the president of the Jagran Group, and she's written a book, Lady or the Boss, to talk to our members. This was one of the first events that we did for this year. And it was in connection with the book that she had written. And I was asked to introduce her at this event. And you know how introductions happen, right? Especially for senior leaders, you will be given a bio and you have to read it out from that. You can't, add a word. You cannot delete a word. You have to be very specific about it. So I had got this document, and if I had to introduce her, all I had to do was just read this out. But I decided to create an opportunity for myself on this platform. So what I did was I started that introduction by talking about the book and how it resonated with me, how every chapter in that book resonated with me. And I picked a particular chapter which was around imposter syndrome. And I said that, even I have gone through the imposter syndrome. And I gave a story about, when I felt it. So the story that I narrated was that I was asked to be on the jury of a global innovation challenge with MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, USA, runs every year, right? So MIT is a huge name, and I'm saying global innovation challenge, a very heavyweight, event, and I'm telling them that I got invited to be a jury on this. But I was talking about my imposter syndrome, which I had to say, oh my God, should I be? Why should I be? I don't think I'm ready for it, and things like that. So that's how the story went. But what did I achieve by this? While I was being vulnerable to say, you know what, I also went through imposter syndrome, it actually connected with the audience. But it also, I'm sure, left the audience thinking that, oh my God, okay, so she is a somebody. She actually is on the jury of some international, institute, and for a global innovation talent. So I created an opportunity for myself to showcase my brand here. Then of course I went about reading her bio, and then I had taken permission from her to read a bit of the chapter from her book, which also became an opportunity for me to connect with this audience. People will remember me, for something. And Apurva also, remembers me post this event. Okay, so this is how you have to look at creating opportunities to showcase your brand. So there is always this question that will come to me to say that, oh, that means we'll be viewed as a show off, or I can't, go about, coming about me and my work. It is a must, but if you don't, remember I said don't be a salesman. I never, sold what I was doing at that particular, event to say, hey, you can contact me, I can be a jury or anything. But via a story which kind of connected with what the event was for, the book was for, I still managed to leave some impression about my brand. So you have to start thinking of how to create opportunities to showcase your brand. This is in the offline space. I'll just look at the chat box. Is there anything that I have to? Yeah, I remember the Kanjivaram Sari, Gita, of course. I still, if there is anything that I need to address at this point in time, I can take a question. But if you're feeling comfortable and we can reserve questions for the end, I will go ahead because the online one is very interesting. Anything at all? Okay, I will go ahead. How do you brand yourself online and, of course, keep it in check? Now, I'm going to tell you something, but I don't want you to do it right now. Please do it at the end of the session. Google yourself. Google whatever your name is spelled as. So for me, it is Neerja Ganesh. Google Neerja Ganesh and see what comes out. Please don't do it now. You will be distracted. So you'll do it at the end of the session. But this is the first thing that you do to check, what is your online presence today. Check what comes up. When you just do Google, you're not going anywhere. Sign out from everything. Sign out from any social media sites that you are on Google, Gmail or Yahoo, everything. Just Google and see what comes up, right? And what comes up, look at what are the key things that are missing. Because this is what is the story that is being told to the online world about you. Because I'm sure people will Google. They will Google a Neerja Ganesh, they may Google a Prithvi, they will Google whoever, Geeta and all of that. So a story pops up, right, based on the search results that Google brings for you. Are there certain things that are missing? Oh my God, Google thinks this is what I am, but this is completely missing from that. That is probably what will be the revelation to you when you Google for yourself. What is more important is what is it that needs to be taken down from the online, media? Because even recruiters today actually Google the minute they get a CV. How do I find out who is who and who is better than I get 100 CVs? So should I call Muja? Should I call somebody else for an interview? The first thing they do is they will Google the name because that is what will tell you what is the kind of thought leadership this person brings to the table, and hence they will say, okay, let me call XYZ and not ABC. So, what needs to be taken down, what key things are missing is absolutely important because sometimes the information that recruiters find from Googling your name could be enough to cross you off their list. So, do this as the first thing that you will do to kind of establish your online brand. Okay. Now, please don't Google right now. I'm sure people are doing it on another window. How do you brand yourself online and keep it in check? Okay. The first thing is check the privacy settings on all the social media sites, on all the portals that you are part of. By now, I'm sure we are all part of 100 things. We have so many apps that we have downloaded and we would have said, okay, allow, permissions granted, etc. But especially, let's start with the social media sites, the usually popular being Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and today Instagram and whatever else. check the privacy settings, right? You use different social media platforms for different things. So somebody might use Facebook for very personal stuff and LinkedIn for more professional stuff, and maybe Twitter as just kind of trying to give your viewpoint on say politics or cricket or whatever else. You may. It is all up to you, right? So you have to be very clear about the privacy policies of each of these social media platforms. Okay, and you have to be forget the point of I read it when I signed up, but it's 2 years, it's 3 years, it's 10 years since I signed up, and every now and then their privacy policies change, and you will be intimated. You get emails from all these people. Yahoo will keep sending you emails to say that they're changing our privacy policies. You have 1 month to kind of review and accept, and if you don't accept it, we will assume that you have accepted it after a month. Review each of these, whenever it changes. And it is fine print. It will be 10 pages long, but please go through it because it is very important what stuff you put out, how it is a necessary evil. I have to tell you this. You can't say, okay, fine, I will not be on a social media platform. What we are talking about is that it is absolutely important. But do this check. Of course, beyond doing those checks, ensure that you exercise your judgment when you post anything on social media because privacy settings are not infallible, right? So that is definitely something which is in our control. But point one is also something that we need to do to ensure that we keep our online brand in check. The next thing about online is what is your voice, right? Do you want to be controversial on these platforms? If that's what you want to be, that's what you want to be. I don't have an issue with that. It's what you want to be. But everything that you speak, of course, also within organizations, in meetings, in events, but more on the online platform defines your voice and hence your brand. I told you the brand also comes with the values that you carry, correct? The attitude that you have, the behaviors. So, do you want to be controversial? So that will determine, how the content that you put out and the language that you use. Or do you want to be known as highly opinionated? So a simple statement can be written in many ways, right? We know our kids, they do active voice, passive voice, in this and that. A simple statement can be twisted to make it sound controversial, or it can sound very highly opinionated. So ensure that whatever your goals are in terms of the brand that you want to be known for, that will determine what is the content you put out there and the language that you use, the words that you use, and the texture that you give to that content. Very, very important to remember. Next thing is be consistent. I have already spoken about consistency when I was talking about being an ambassador of jobs for her and somebody else asking me to do something. But consistency is so very important because we might get carried away very easily because we are good at multiple things, correct? But if you are starting to write a message on this one day and another one on another day and a third one on a third day and trying to come back to the first point on the fourth day, it's going to be really ruining the brand that you want to, create. So anything online contributes to your personal brand. So please ensure that you are consistent with whatever messaging is going online. What do you write about? What do you post on social media? How do you interact with an audience? And this, of course, is both offline, online, within and outside organizations. All of this has to be with an overall messaging strategy to ensure it aligns with the brand image that you want for yourself. Consistency is also another very, very important aspect. The next one is actively promote yourselves. And I love this cartoon. I hope you're able to see where this guy says, I've been playing guitar in the basement for 30 years. I should now get discovered any day, right? So, not going to happen. Absolutely not going to happen. You have to promote yourselves. Okay. So, I have spoken about, how do you put out content, right? So, you may just decide that I will start writing. Just writing a blog is not going to get you viewership. It's going to sit either on your blog site or somewhere, maybe even LinkedIn. But how many people will check, and read your blog? Because you know how content is churned out today. within seconds, you're getting, different feeds on your online media and things like that. So you have to ensure that you enhance the visibility for yourself, for the content that you are writing, and everything else which goes along with the branding. So, of course, start writing. That's the first step. And for those who have a fear of writing or who will struggle to start with, I'm not asking you to write longish articles. Simple things, if you are on, and you should be, say, on LinkedIn, simple things you can just one line post for the day, you know in alignment with where you want people to start focusing on you as the person and the brand. And then you could probably comment on somebody else's post, again in alignment with what your thought process is, so that people start with creating that image of your brand. And then slowly you can expand on that by resharing somebody else's article and putting out a couple of comments on that. And then you can also write. But it is important. Thought leadership in every way is absolutely important. So your original content also has to come out. And while you, as I said, you could have a blog site, you can use LinkedIn, but also start writing on guest blog sites. And there are tons of them, right? Your Story, Medium, or every other online portal like a Jobs for Her, or anything else that you wish to get associated with will have a blog section. You can write on these blog sites, and that automatically gets more viewership, because they will also promote. The minute your blog is written on their blog site, they will, like, for example, I write on women's web because I kind of contribute a lot in the gender space. So they will, themselves promote it on their social media, and then I can, further promote and all of that. So promotion of you is absolutely important. And we are talking online, so I'm only, talking about the online stuff right now. Promoted via social media handles, whatever you have. Of course, LinkedIn. Regularly write articles. And does this work? Okay. And let me give you an example. Um, I'll give you two examples of how you kind of promote yourselves. One is, let me talk about this webinar itself, right? So BCIC put it out a couple of days back to say, okay, fine, we are having these series of webinars, and one of them was on personal branding. I ensured that I also further reshared it on LinkedIn and Facebook, but I do two things there. One, how do I kind of tell people that this is not my first session, right? I'm not an expert, but I'm saying I've done these sessions, quite a few of these sessions. So one thing that I do at the end of every year is I write a series of articles about how my previous year was, specifically around the new things that I did that year, and definitely about the various workshops I conducted or the various talks that I did. So I had written an article about the sessions that I had done on networking, the sessions that I have done on personal branding in 2019. So that was sitting on LinkedIn. So when I reshared the webinar details, I gave a link to that so that whoever reads this may want to go and look up, okay, who's this lady? What has she done? I'm giving a link to, an article where I'm talking about 2019 and the various places where I've gone and spoken about personal branding. The second thing, of course, you all are familiar or get familiar with the usage of hashtags, trending hashtags, but you also can tag some people, okay? Now, this has to be done carefully, but I go about and tag people who may be in a similar space. We're talking branding here. So, people like Diksha, that whose, definition I put out on the slide earlier. So she does a lot of stuff on personal branding, and a few other people who kind of have a viewpoint on this. I tag them. Now, tagging people without their permission is not good at all. So if you know these people well enough, then you can. Otherwise, do kind of, on the side message them and say, can I tag you? And if they approve of you tagging it, then you can go ahead. But by tagging 5 or 6 people who are completely, from different spaces, they see your whatever content you've put out, and they may like. And I had also put out a question, which is for anyone who's reading, this particular webinar details, to say that it might be a question on what do you think of personal brand, or can you give me a name of somebody who you believe has created a strong personal brand. So you're engaging the people. So you will have more people looking at your content. They will read things which are associated with it. They will like it. They will probably reshare, and you build a bit of credibility. So that's one way of actively promoting. The other one is, let me give you an example of my daughter. who's 18-year-old. She's in second PUC, 12th standard. Her last exam, which is English, has got postponed due to whatever is happening around us, right? Now, while she is, doing a lot of online trainings, and she attends webinars and all of that because she wants to pursue data science, she came across when somebody spoke to her, to do an internship. So this is a newly formed not-for-profit organization called Aspire for Her, where they want to look at careers for girls in the age group of 18 to 25, more in terms of getting these girls to start thinking about intentional careers and what are the various opportunities that are available today. So they are just looking for students in this age group, or girls in this age group who can become their ambassadors and kind of spread the word around. So it was a 1 month internship that came her way, and she said, yeah, of course I'll do it. Now, what does being an ambassador mean? I already explained when I was a jobs for ambassador, you have to kind of actively promote the work that they are doing on social media. Now, my daughter had got onto LinkedIn last year. I had told her because she is also into writing and she has a blog site of her own. And I said, start promoting it on various platforms, and LinkedIn being one. But of course, she didn't do much of it last year, given that she was in 12th and she was busy with studies. But she used all her handles now because of this internship to talk about this organization and the work they are doing, and kind of attract young girls to this website. It's been 3 weeks since she's been in that internship. The internship is supposedly for a month. And today she got a call from another organization saying that we would like you to intern for us. This is an organization which is again doing a lot of online training, and of course they will go offline once things settle. But a lot of training for students, and they felt that she being a student and the kind of work that she's been able to achieve for Aspire for Her will work, for their platform and for their organization also. And they're kind of saying that let's talk. And she said, Ma, I'm not even finished my 12th standard. What is happening, right? So it works. It works because you are genuine. And that is something that I will leave you all with. You can't just, write some crap and, think that people will look at it. Why is it that, somebody will come and read my daughter's content or my content or your content? Because it has to be appealing, and there has to be genuineness that will come out of it, right? And hence people will want to remain connected with you, want to always read whatever you are posting, and that is the way you will end up promoting yourself and eventually, getting the opportunity. The last thing that I would say is make valuable connections. So when I do sessions on networking, my tip number 0 is networking is all about what is the value you provide to others. It is never about what others can do for you. That is what networking is all about. So it goes back to that, right? So I say constantly recognize the work of others, even if it is peers. And in the online world, because there are so many people writing. So go and like somebody else's content. Go and reshare somebody else's content. Put a post about somebody else's content. So you are recognizing their work. It's never competition. At the end of the day, we have to collaborate, and it is cooperation. And the minute you're sharing somebody else's content, it establishes a deeper relationship with that person. And it kind of makes you much more endearing to that person. And through these connections is how your personal brand, kind of get enhances and becomes more visible. So again, a story from my own life is that I told you about this article that I wrote at the end of 2019 about the various talks that I had done on personal branding. I do these things on LinkedIn. I put out this article on LinkedIn. But when I reshared this, as I already said, I try and find people who are in the space. So I found a few people who kind of do sessions on personal branding or have authored books on this, or have some strong opinion and thoughts on personal branding, and I kind of put I must have tagged them. One lady came back. She has she hosts a series called Creating Brand You. She's an author of a book, and she does a lot of content around personal branding. She reached out to me and she said that will you be a speaker on one of her shows, right? So at the end of the day, the personal brand that you have created, which is through the content and by trying to share it within the community and by bringing people to read it, if it is relevant, and the connections that you have made will eventually pay off. Okay. So before I take questions, I've done this Google for Neeraja Ganesh, and this is today's Google. Okay, so when I did Neeraja Ganesh Google, this is what it came up. If you see, it talks about my LinkedIn profile. Then it talks about MIT Inclusion Challenge. I'm a jury there, right? And then it is pointing to some videos, some talks I would have given, some interviews. Then it is showing jobs for her mentor. Then it's talking about author on women's web. Okay, before I talk about this, I'm showing you a comparison. I had done this, last year also. The one on the right hand side was last September. The one, on the left hand side, for me, my left and my right is, my current. If you see, LinkedIn still remains at the top. But today, the Inclusive Innovation Challenge seems to have come in the second, while then, the videos had come on the top, and then there are some images and all of that, which means that on a daily basis, your search results are going to be changing if you are very active. If you're not active, then it may remain the same for 1 week, 1 month, or 1 year also. But if you are active online, then Google search results on a daily basis change, and that's why I said look it up and see what you want to pull off. What is it that you want to bring in and enhance? Correct. It also tells me that probably I'm a big user of LinkedIn, and that's why that is coming up first. And my women's web, being an author on that is not that I don't contribute so much on women's web, and hence it's probably at zero point 0.4 or zero point 0.5. So I'll just kind of skim through. Very curiously, I also said let me see what comes up for me. So mentor, then the author at women's web. Then Clearly Blue had done an interview with me, so that was their Twitter. So please don't think I'm promoting myself here or kind of boasting, but I just want you to see what are the kinds of things that come up when you Google, right? A lot of this is okay. I mean, I know that these things are there online, but suddenly this Neerja Ganesh Grey Matters Capital, and I was trying to think why, and I remembered that they had invited me for one session, and so looks like they had put it on their website. It was 3 years ago, and that is coming up, on page 2. And if you go further, there is stuff about me. I also have written a couple of articles on Medium, so that is coming up much later. I am part of, a not-for-profit foundation called as Hope Works Foundation. So they have probably put up, I'm one of the volunteers. So that is coming up. So remember, I spoke about volunteer. Um, this one, letting go is the hardest asana, is, a blog I have written for Indoors Leadership. So if you go on, things that you wouldn't even think are there. Some of this you are doing proactively, some of this somebody else is doing for you, and I will show you that one thing, which was very stark revelation for me. This is page 1, right? Okay, this is page 1. Okay, I can't seem to find it, but somebody had picked up one of my articles and had published it on their website, and I was unaware of it. Now, whether the right thing or wrong thing we can debate, but the point is that even that came up. So you will be noticed if someone is going to that particular publication who had just pinched an article of mine and put up on there, they will also get to know about you. Correct. So online is the way to go. You've got to be there, but you have to be very, very careful and still be there. That's what I would say. And of course, there are some which are not me. Neerja Ganesh Chennai is not me, but Neerja Ganesh Pinterest is me. So even that is coming up, right? So everything about you is there, and I'm still on page 3, and this can go on forever. So I had done a session for Homepreneur Huddle Chats that is coming up, and these are not me. But yeah, this Techstars Online Global Startup Weekend, this happened last Saturday. So they reached out to me and said, that there is like a hackathon, like an ideathon, which is happening, and basically to fight COVID. And they said, will you be a mentor? And I said, again, the same imposter story. And I said, what do I have that can, bring about value to these people who are trying to ideate and come up with ideas to fight COVID-19? But I went on to become a mentor, and I did what I could. And that's also coming up. So old, new, everything is there. It's stored forever. So with that, I will actually thank all of you for being a patient audience and, take on questions. I will probably stop the screen share. And so how do I stop the screen share? Is there a way to stop the
Hi,
share?
Nirja,
and
you can come on the
hi,
video.
Nirasa.
Yeah, I will. But is there a way to stop the shares? I will come on video for sure.
Yeah. And then we'll go the questions as per the chat. Who has asked for,
Okay,
we'll ask them.
sure. So can you see me? Now I switched on the video. Okay, I
Yeah.
will
Can you
start.
double click? It will come full screen.
Are you able to see me full screen?
No.
Okay. So what do I do for that? There might be a setting somewhere. Stop sharing. I will stop sharing. Okay, let's enter full screen. Is this better?
Miss Geeta?
Okay. I don't know, but let's not kind of waste time. Should I take the questions from the very beginning or from the end? How do I do it? Okay, let me go
This
up.
expert committee kindly.
Okay. Rekha has asked, is personal branding promoted by oneself? And I did, kind of, touch upon that. How will you portray your personal brand to someone who you're meeting for the first time? I think I have given lot of situations, examples from my life, from somebody else's life, to say you have to create those opportunities. You have to find ways to narrate those stories without it becoming like a salesperson, without it sounding like I was boasting. But you have to become creative about it. I'm experiencing network issues at my end. Will I get a recorded copy? I will let BCIC answer that later. I'm more of a technical person and not into management roles. How will personal branding help me here? Of course, why not? Whether you're technology, whether you're management, whether you're entrepreneur, freelance consultant, the end of the day, you want to grow, right? When you want to grow, how do you look at the opportunities coming your way? Say, again, I go back to blockchain as an example. If that's where your expertise lies, how does your organization know that, you have, picked up that skill? And how do you start showcasing that? Maybe start doing smallish sessions in your organization to say that what, I now got interested in this new technology, and let me start telling you so that you can also learn, whether it is data science, Python, whatever it be in the technical world. And from those small groups is the message will spread, and the organization gets to know that this is a person who's very curious, who's a learner, and hence we should probably look at her in the next project that we come up, which could be on the same technology that you've kind of picked. And of course, in the outside world, there are plenty of options for you to kind of showcase your expertise, and that's the way it's going to help you. It's, at the end of the day, helps you grow in a career that you want to grow in. Really helpful. Okay. Can you please talk about self-introspection to find our personal brand? Okay, so let me tell you this. There is some kind of a brand presence that I have, which I didn't go about intentionally creating. It just happened. So what did I do? As I said, I realized that there is this set of women who've taken a career break and who are struggling to restart their careers, and I wanted to do something for them, right? And I found the jobs for her as a platform, and there were opportunities which I could use via the platform to meet with these women and kind of help them out, be as a mentor, ambassador, whatever it be. And eventually it led me to an opportunity with jobs for her, where I was heading a not-for-profit foundation. So whatever work I did around this space, of course I also promoted it for jobs for her, not not necessarily for me, but for jobs for her on the online platform. And it also eventually showcased me as a person because I was heading it and I was responsible for bringing in those partnerships and conducting those events. And automatically a brand for me emerged, which is around women, women centric, helping women in their careers. And this actually got thrown at me when I stepped out of JobSpot and decided to do a lot of trainings. I launched a workshop and I put it out on social media to say, okay, fine, this is an open workshop, register for it. If you believe it, 95 women signed up for it. And nowhere I had said this is for a women's only workshop. So there is that brand that has got created that Nirja does things for women, right? And I now have to change that perception to say, hey, I'm happy to talk to anyone. But so the introspection is I had to introspect. Why is it that only 95 women signed up, right? And then I thought through and I said, okay, I think that 1 year, 1.5 years that I did whatever I did through jobs for her, every post of mine used to say for women. Hey, come attend this. This is for women. This is free for women. This is discounted for women. Because at the end of the day, we're doing it for women. So automatically people are thinking that going forward also whatever I do is only for women. So that's a little bit of introspection that one needs to do. So you sit down and, some of us may feel there are people who post things and get recognized. Some of us may already know that this is what I want to be associated with, either the cause or the domain or the role or in terms of helping startups. For example, if you remember Diksha, she said she is kind of entrepreneur, but she is also kind of wants to help startups. So that is what the introspection you do, say that what is it that I'm good at? What is it that I want to be known for? Where is my next set of opportunities going to be? And hence, my brand will help me get those opportunities. Or what is it that I want to give back? And hence, I kind of start creating a brand around that. So that's, how one will introspect. There are people who post things and get recognized, and people who create their own brand in silence. I'm a person who do not post things on platform. How do I create my brand? I think Rohit, I've spoken at length to say that you can't be playing the guitar in a room in the underground and hope to get noticed. There is a need to create visibility for yourselves, both offline, online, within the organization, and outside. And you need to kind of come out of whatever the mindset is because of which you are not really vocal. And I'm not expecting you to do 100 posts every day. Even if you do one post a week, it is okay. Even if you show up to one event a month, it is okay. Start there. So this is how I started, right? So I am saying whatever I have created as a brand for myself has happened from 2016 is when it started, but 2017 to now in 3 years. Okay. Before that, for the 24 years that I was in technology, I don't think anybody knew me because I was not on any social media platform. In fact, I got onto LinkedIn only in 2016. But even then, I had very limited connections. I ensured that I only connected with people with whom I had worked in the past. And for a person who has worked 16 years in ANZ and 5 years in Capgemini, you know how restricted that circle would be. But after 2016, with whatever changes happened, and I started thinking of it differently, is when I went all out to connect with more people. And even, when I was in the jobs for her, I used to only promote the events that we used to do. But really posting content in terms of my opinions, in terms of my thought leadership, I probably started doing it, a year ago or something like that. So start slowly. I know it can be daunting, it can be difficult, but everybody doesn't. So it's perfectly fine to do it, but do it in such a way that it is relevant and it is appealing. I am more of a technical person. I think we've spoken. Will branding stereotype us? It's a good question. Um, when I picked up this role that I have now, the day job I have with National Education Society, the role is to actually bridge the industry academia gap so that we can actually review the current curriculum that our college has, National College, and make it more relevant to what the current industry needs are. And the first time I told that I'm picking up a role like this to a very good friend of mine, he said, What is it that you're doing? I thought you will always continue to be in the space for women, and now suddenly you've gone off to a college. My response to that was, at the end of the day, the brand that I want to probably be known as is to help anybody with careers. It could be women, it could be students, it could be men, it could be anybody. But I really want to tell the whole world that there's plenty of opportunities out there. It is about how you kind of, go seeking those opportunities or creating those opportunities, and get to those and grow in your career. So it's not going to really stereotype you, as long as you ensure that you have a wider circle in under which you play, and you also create a diverse audience. So it's not that, and of course, I said that only women are signing up for my workshops, but the point is that even men are reading my content, right? And the students are also reading my content now. So the brand continues. The brand around helping people with their careers continues. The audience is becoming wider. So there is, of course, a little bit of stereotyping to say that this is what she's good at and this is what she wants to do. But how did I get this opportunity to mentor? In the last ideathon that happened 2 days ago, right? There's nothing that I'm doing with startups. There's nothing that I'm doing, in terms of being part of such hackathons. But I got that opportunity and I grabbed that opportunity. So it will slowly grow and slowly enhance, but remain true to the core. That is what I will tell you. Branding is for everyone, but it is not a race. Of course not. I mean, you kind of, I always say that, even with your career, I say run your race at your own pace. So I took 25 years to reach where I was when I quit from my corporate career, which was I was a director at Capgemini. But somebody might have achieved that in 10 years, but suits them and suits me. I wanted to take my time because I had other things that I wanted to focus on also during those 25 years, right? And today I'm doing something completely different. Absolutely. It is not a race. Just excuse me, I'll just get a glass of water. Yeah, it is not a race. You do it at the pace that you wish to grow at, right? And if you have a very aggressive, growth plan for yourself, then you have to become a little more aggressive. Otherwise, do it. As I said, it's an investment. I also say that networking is also something that you need to do. You cannot dig a well when you are thirsty. Okay, so you have to have dug the well, and when you're thirsty, you can take the water from that. Similarly, actively network, actively go about, creating a brand for yourselves, and it will pay back. You can, mine that and, get the opportunities when the, time comes. That's what I would say. How does someone who is inherently shy and not able to self promote build a personal brand? Well, first of all, the realization has to come that you have to. There's no way out. And I gave you some examples. If I were to tell you, Shantala, that I am an introvert, okay, and I come from a very conservative family. For the first 10 years of my career, I have not spoken to anybody in the company because of the introverted, shy nature that I was. I didn't even say hi to someone who was sitting next to me. I just went about 9 to 6, did my work. I was a programmer, so it worked because I would get a design, I would code, I would test and give it back. And of course, things happened because of it. I had to change myself. And today I'm giving a talk on personal branding to, about 80 people were there. So you can do it and you have to do it. Please, I mean, we can have a bigger conversation, larger conversation. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. So that's another message I will give everyone over here. If you're on LinkedIn, please do reach out by saying that, I attended your talk at BCIC and I will definitely connect with you. Those who are not, please get onto it. And Shantala, maybe we can talk about this a little more. But if I could, from someone who for 10 years in a company didn't speak to anybody, I think anybody can. Everybody can. So we'll find a way for that. There are people who post things and get recognized. Okay, we spoke. Can you suggest tools or questions to help us find our personal brand? It's tough, Anu, very tough. See, Google is one thing, it will tell you actively, that this is what people are, thinking about you, the kind of messages that come. So if you look at the screen that I was showing up, it was only talking about women, interviews about women, how did you grow as a woman leader and all of that's what the first page, second page, third page was trying to show me. So that's the brand. There is something. I know somebody had sent a particular link. If I can find it, I will send it to BCIC for them to send it to all the participants, which is about what LinkedIn thinks your brand is. There is a way to find that for LinkedIn. The LinkedIn is not the universe, okay? But at least that could be a starting point. And I will try and find that link and send to you. There may be a difference between what I want to be known for and what others' perception about me is. How do we proceed there? You have to change others' perception. That's all there is, right? If you want to be known for something and people are thinking about you differently, that is because you're doing something which is not aligned with what you want to be known for. People can't just, perceive you, just like that. Okay, again, another perception management, example that I will give. So in my career, and I just now told, my daughter is 18 years old. So when my daughter was born, I was very clear that I was only going to, do a 9 to 6, and I was not going to stay beyond 6. I was not going to attend any engagements after 6, any parties, anything. Correct? So I didn't do that for many years till, she probably became 4 or 5. I ensured that, it was a 9 to 6. I was home at 6 and nothing beyond 6. This is 18 years ago. Recently, we are a group of friends who met up for dinner. People are all in senior positions, of course. So in 18 years, everyone has grown and, somebody has gone on to become the MD of a company and now has started something of his own. And that person, since he started a venture of his own, he actually organized a meetup and he chose people to attend that meetup. It was not necessarily a launch of his, organization, of his venture, but it was just kind of, kind of sharing that, this is something that has started. He invited people from his ex-organizations and all of that. Of course, didn't get invited. So at that, informal gathering that we had, somebody asked, why did you invite Neerja? I mean, she gets invited to, so many other events. Why did you think of inviting her? You know what this person said? He said, I thought that she will never come for anything which is after 6. And this event was at 8 o'clock in the night. Look at that. 18 years ago is what I was behaving like that. That perception has not changed. While today I am there everywhere, anywhere, any point of time of day or night. So, but this was a revelation for me. If this perception has not changed in 18 years, then, I have to, kind of probably meet this person. You have to kind of be in touch with these people who you think can provide you with opportunities and, ensure that you change their perception. But in terms of if you think that somebody's perception is very different to what you really want to be known for, you have to reflect on what are you doing because of which they are having that perception. I'll exit. Okay. Content and consistency. Yes.
No,
With me?
I thought, our senior vice president, Mr. Parshram, is there. So I request him to share some thoughts on it. Parshram,
Absolutely.
sir, you can have a word,
Please
sir.
go ahead.
Parshram, sir.
I guess he'll need to unmute himself. Mr. Parshram, you'll have to unmute yourself.
Is my screen still shared?
Yes, your screen is still shared.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think now it's
I don't
fine.
know.
Now it's clear, Parshram,
Now
sir.
it's
You can
okay.
go ahead, sir. Yeah, it's okay, sir. Please go ahead, sir.
Right, the lady, you're the boss. Hello. Hello.
We are able to
Yes,
hear
we can
you,
hear
Hello.
sir.
you now. Yeah, we
We
can
can
hear
we
you.
can hear you
Yeah,
clearly, sir.
madam. Thanks a lot. Good evening, madam. Thank you so much for a wonderful session. In fact, I thoroughly enjoyed listening to you. In fact, full of value add. In fact, in Japanese, we say how to make a A3 paper, right? Even $1 billion investment we make in a single A3 paper when we present it to the board. In fact, it's a very great, in fact, easy to talk for, 2 hours. But same thing, you have to put it in A3 paper. That's how we
Right.
try to develop the HRD of our people. But I think today what you said is A3 of your own personality. I think how to create your own branding. I think that's very, very important. And I think you gave us the gist of the key points. Definitely, it is useful not only for corporates, but also for a lot of students. In fact, I would have allowed my daughter also to listen to this. In fact, my daughter is also in the 12th standard. So I would also definitely share it with her, with my second daughter. So I think I was a part of that meeting with Apurva Pandit, the lady you're the boss. In fact, I listened to
Right.
your opening speech. I just recollected the kind of introduction you gave about Apurva. I think we learned a lot about how to brand yourself, and But today the challenge is many people have asked the questions how to change the perceptions. I think definitely I also believe that how do you act and how do you act consistently. I think that is the challenge that all of us are facing. So thank you so much, and we also would love to have you at Bangalore Chambers to a larger audience. I'm sure today's event is definitely a curtain raiser for us. So I'm going to talk to my president and bring you to Bangalore Chambers once the COVID is, stabilizing and we are back to normal. Thank you very much for the wonderful presentation and sharing your thoughts. Pleasure meeting you.
Thank you
Thank you so
so
much.
much. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
My pleasure. And I would love, as I said, these are things
All
that
the very best.
go unnoticed. People don't think that
Thanks, Prithvi.
we need to have a session on this.
Thank you, sir.
Um,
Uh,
thank you
if
so
there are
much.
no questions, yeah, if there are no questions, I'll request Miss Geeta Srinivas to sum it up.
Neeraj, this is Gobichan.
Yeah,
Yes,
please
I
go
want to
ahead.
add something. Yeah, how are you
sure.
doing? Thanks for the great session. Thank you for your time. Okay, so like I'm on a break and it's almost more than 6 months. Okay, so since last couple of weeks, can other people go on mute? Somebody joining.
Lot of disturbance, not able to hear.
Yeah, somebody else. Okay, yeah, thank you so much. So since last 1 week, means last month I attended the interview. I did not go ahead. It was around 3 or 4 rounds, but still did not go ahead. So since I left applying everything last 15-20 days, and last couple of weeks again I started refreshing my profile. I started refreshing on my LinkedIn, and I'm doing a lot of changes. Okay, so I generally follow the Kirsty and other senior people who are on this recruiting and helping people on the LinkedIn platform. So what I did in a different way. I started responding rather than saying like, okay, commenting on that, like interview is a discussion between two people, exchanging between views, a different like the amount of networking what I've been connecting has been changed. And since last 1 week, the profile, what my view is more than 50%, the profile which people have viewed. And I have been getting connections from across the globe, CEOs and all senior people from Asia, Dubai, US, and different locations. Okay, and so like that is on the change on what I'm commenting for other people. What like one of the lady has put a story that she has been working with cancer for 3 years, and then she has come back. She has built up a very big organization of her, and then I told that nobody can change the God master plan. So for that I got so many of connections and so many of likes and comments on that. So I changed the way that I was doing differently, and this is one thing. Another thing, yesterday I came up with a couple of sites. I don't know if you know that person called as Jared G. Vasey. Okay, he's an excellent guy. He's an excellent guy. There's so many blogs he has written about the LinkedIn profile and the resume profile. How do you do? And it's amazing. So since last 2 days, I was going on his blogs. Okay. So the other thing what I want to add, other than like the elevator pitch makes a lot of difference, being it a personal brand or you want to say you get 10 seconds in that elevator to tell anybody in that one line, even the 20 or 30 years of career, what you need to tell when you go to networking meeting or anything. So that makes a lot of difference. And what I'm seeing, like because of being consistency is 1 week and the profile view has been 150%. So which was not there before that. So I think, so from there, I started actually digging this personal brand. I've been reading YouTubes, I've been reading different blogs. So that's why I was more interested to attend this profile. So that's how I reached you actually.
Thank you so much. And thanks for sharing that. It works.
Yeah.
So, there's another person who's kind of shared his experience. It definitely works. And yes, elevator pitch is important. How do you start a conversation when you are? And ensure that you kind of, have it around the brand that you want to kind of showcase. Your pitch should be around that.
Correct.
So, thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
May I now request Ms. Geeta Srinivas to conclude the sessions.
Thanks,
Ma'am, over
Prithvi.
to you.
Thanks,
And also
Prithvi.
your plans
Yeah,
for
thank
your
you.
next. Yeah.
Yeah, can you hear me, Prithvi?
Yeah, it's very clear.
Okay. First of all, thank you so much, Neerja, for starting the webinar series as part of the Women Empowerment Committee for BCIC. Just to share with all the participants, Neerja is an active member of the BCIC Women Empowerment Committee, and this was the first of the webinar series she proposed to be able to connect with people amidst this COVID situation. I think it's been a great success. 80 participants, 85 participants is amazing, and this is a wonderful topic to start. This is the time for us to reflect because all of us have some amount of time with no traffic jams in Bangalore. We definitely have time to reflect and work on self-development. Great talk, Neerja, and I really love the participation. Great platform, Prithvi. Thank you. I'd like all of you to keep watching our space, Neerja's LinkedIn page, BCIC LinkedIn page, my LinkedIn page, because we are doing a host of activities. And the next one that's coming up is how to manage your personal finances smartly. So that's coming on the 27th, and I look forward to participation from all the member companies and their employees, right? Kudos, Neerja. Look forward to more sessions. And as Mr. Parshuram said, we should do more personal sessions once the COVID opens. Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Anytime,
Thank you,
Geeta. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks, Neerja.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Shivi,
everyone.
all the participants.
See you all. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Neerja.
Bye.
Thank you, Tara.